economy and how food is our cure. So today's our lead speaker is Miss Gunjan Goila. She is a chef. She is from India. Welcome, ma'am. And another is our panelist speaker, Pele Wan. She is the director of Shumpura Foods from UK. Welcome, ma'am. So I am going to hand over this session to our lead speaker, Gunjan Goila. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Welcome everyone. It's a little bit tiring starting the session immediately after food, or we like wanting to yawn and take it a little more easy. But it's an extension. Probably it's an extension of what we just experienced outside. And I'm going to explain it to you a little bit more scientifically, and I hope you enjoy the session. Okay, as it says, I just took me. I want you to change the slide. You just see that and you see it's most often is the favorite medium of. You want me to speak like this? Is that the way? Okay. It's the food we connect. It's food that brings us together. The moment a child is born, the first thing given in the mouth is some form of food. In India, there are communities who give honey, or we give a sacred water from the river Ganges. Likewise, probably mankind all over the world welcomes the child with some form of the food. It could be anything. It could be just sheer love. And above than that is mother's milk, which is the first thing given to a newborn. And as the saying goes, even in the last breath, what they offer to the departing soul is some kind of a food. And even after the soul is departed, we celebrate the departure of that soul with food. This is pertaining to the Indian mythology. I just thought I would introduce to some of you who are not very well versed with what the Indian mythology is all about. So as they say, it's divine between the two humans because it is food that connects. We have all the meals, if it is a joint family, we all come and eat the food together. We savor that food. Food is probably one of the very rare things that you don't enjoy in isolation. You like to share it with people and eat, and it's become okay. In today's time, you can say it's more of a fad, but in earlier times, there were food fables, there were food stories because you would share things, you would share your experiences. Okay, when we talk about our Indian tradition culture of Indian food, these are the few points which I'd like to discuss and show you. We must take great pride in our traditional wisdom, be it any culture. We are talking about I have to have pride in my food, I have to have pride in my culture. Only then can I take it forward. Only then can I bring it to the world and tell me, like the people from various countries who can talk, you could tell me something about your place, and you should have a pride rather than saying, okay, it's only pizzas or burgers. Every community, every family should have a pride in whatever they are cooking. And that is very important because you are thanking God, you're thanking nature back. Because what you're eating is the produce of the nature, and in a certain way you're repaying your thoughts by giving them some kind of reverence. So we just run through it. We must take great pride in traditional wisdom, which is our rich cultural heritage, and pay immense importance to pass this wealth from one generation to another, especially when practical everyday aspects are under threat of being lost. It's probably an evolution. Every cycle takes when things are developing. You will lose out on certain cultural points. Welcome, Usha ji. So what happens is that you are evolving. Like about 40 years or maybe 50 years back, the Indian traditional style of cooking wasn't coal, was on cow dung cakes, which is no more very prevalent. Why? Because we've got LPG, we have got gases, which is much faster and a little bit more healthier. But I'm of the person, I believe it is very important you should not lose out on your cultural aspect of basic Indian style of traditional cooking. For I don't mean here Indian, I mean probably any heritage style of cooking. And everybody has some heritage style of cooking. Indian gastronomy is distinctive in a way that the basic fundamentals of cooking, the ingredients and the general method of preparation form the guidelines. Every ingredient has a certain characteristics. We must know how to handle it. We must understand the example for red chilies. What is the fundamental nature of a red chili and why chilies are added to a soup or why chili is added to a dish? It is an antibiotic. We are destroying the bacteria of the meat in which the chilies are being added. We are giving it flavor, we are giving it color. Likewise, if we are using 10 other ingredients, they all have their characteristics, and it is very, very important to understand this and then make a dish. Because you're able to connect yourself with the dish, B, you know what is the goodness of the dish. And accordingly, you will add the ingredients required in a particular dish. Understanding these fundamentals then becomes imperative so as to correctly represent them. It is important to know that characteristics of ingredients, their goodness, combinations are important to understand. As per the Vedas, from earth sprang herb, from herbs food, from food seed, and from seed man. It's an evolution. Because when we eat food, we are going to have blood. Blood is going to give us the sperms, and from sperms, the evolution starts. So it's a whole circle, the food, plant, and the evolution starts. So it's very important to have a very healthy diet for a very healthy generation. So it is there for us, it is imperative for the parents to understand the good form of nourishment for yourself and the family. Indian gastronomics finds its base in these basic principles which were pertinent then, relevant today, and will continue to be sustainable tomorrow. Our food is deeply grounded. It consists of 5 elements, 5 senses, 3 strands, 3 humors, 6 savors, and 9 feelings. This is the base of the Indian gastronomy. I'll just explain to you on the next slide. The 5 elements are space, air, fire, water, earth. The 5 senses are sight, touch, smell, sound. Let me just come to the second one. When we say sight, when we look at food, the first time we eat food is when we look at the food. The appearance is what is attracting us. If the dish is not so attractive, we may just pass by it. Now, second is touch. So many times you want to feel the texture of the food. If the vegetables are not fresh, you like to have the feel of it, and you might just drop them. And so, like for example, you're picking up bananas. You feel they are not smooth, you may not like to buy them. You would look for another set of bananas. Smell is very important because unless until the food has the aroma, you will not like to go near it. You would not like to put it in your mouth. The first thing is the sight, and the second is the aroma that goes through your nose. That is the most inviting feature of any food. And so, now the sound. The sound comes with the textures which are a little crunchy. So when you're eating, you do want to have a certain texture in your mouth and you want to have a crunch. See, food should have all the 5 elements. It should also be crunchy, it should be smooth, you should be able to drink it, and you should also be able to have the right taste. And of course, the taste being the most important, we have a whole slide on it. I'll just move on to that. No, go back to the previous one. No, next. Our body is made of bile, wind, and mucus. These are the 3 fundamentals of Indian gastronomy to understand what is the type of your body. You have Kapha, Vata, Pitta. So in English, we would translate it to bile, wind, mucus. Is your bile more predominant? You should have the food in accordance to control the bile. In case your wind is most prominent, you should have food in order to control the wind. And so is the mucus. But all 3 are very important, so you should have a balance. Ayurveda says it is a balance of all the three important aspects of your body which gives you a good digestion. So you cannot overlook one to the another one. It should be an amalgamation. The six savors, which are sweet, sour, salty, pungent, bitter, and astringent. This also depends on the season, which season what food is to be eaten. And accordingly, you should decide on what factor. Like for example, summers, it's very important to have bitter food because it controls your heat. But the heat outside is much higher than the other month. Astringent would be ghee. See, when you eat ghee and squash in your mouth, it leaves a little aftertaste. So for summers, it's very important to have squashes because the astringent taste balances the body heat. And so is the sourness. And so, like nowadays, we don't advise to have charts. Why? Because it is predominant of bile. So these are the Indian mythology and the Indian gastronomy what we are trying to control here. Then the 9 feelings, now which is love, joy, wonder, calmness, anger, courage, sadness, fear, and disgust. These are the 9 feelings which predominate any human body. Now it is the food that can connect you to it. Sometimes when you have a feeling of love, you might want to have a chocolate. You want to have a sweet, and that what denotes love. If you're angry and one has to cool down the anger, you should have food in relation to control the anger. So these are the pointers given, and in accordance to this, you should decide your diet. Thanks. Okay, here we discuss space, fire, earth, all the 5 elements. Come on to the next. Sight, the 5 senses, the previous one. We talk about air, space, earth, water, and fire. And accordingly, I have given the examples. What is earth? From earth, bananas are from the root vegetables or a root fruit. So that denotes earth. Likely, fire. Fire is without which no food is cooked. So fire is the most important integral part of any cookery. Go to the next. The 5 senses, sight, touch, smell, sound, and taste. When we say sight, as I just said earlier, it is very important for the food to look good and it should be very appealing. The food should be able to attract us. It is a dish lying in a dish and it is not attracting us. It's a useless exercise for me. I may not even go near it and look at it. I just told you, these are also important things for any chef or any cook to have these qualities. He must be able to hear the soup boil. He must be able to hear the milk being boiled or else he's going to spill. It's very important for any chef or cook to have all these senses well developed. His eyesight should be very good.